Hello, everyone. Welcome to Weekend Rental, episode 133. We are your gaming and geek culture podcast. My name is Ryan, and as always, I'm joined by Andy.
Hey.
All right, if you enjoy our content, head on over to geekade.com, where you're going to find not just our podcast, but podcasts on video games, music, movies, TV, comics, so much more. Geekade.com. What's your geek? Speaking of geek, what's the ultimate geeky anime American crossover franchise, Andy?
Speaking from experience from my 1990s Goku flame shirts.
Uh-huh.
I would say Dragon Ball Z.
I would agree. I think that's like the stepping stone for most Americans getting into that anime subculture. Certainly when it was dubbed and brought over on Cartoon Network and various other networks, that was kind of the first one we all started picking up on, before the Boondocks, before Full Metal, not Alchemist. I was going to say Jacket.
Alchemist,
I was like,
yeah.
that's not right. That's a completely different property.
That's a different anime.
So Dragon Ball, it's once again permeated culture in a couple of ways, but it's bled over into one of the biggest games that has been out there for years now. And I understand you've been playing it.
Yeah. So not as much as the rest of my family, but we've been watching Dragon Ball Z from the beginning.
Okay.
This whole summer. And we just finished season 3. So Frieza's dead. Hooray. I wonder what happens next.
Yes. Nothing horrible for sure.
Oh my gosh. That season, holy crap. And I think it gets worse. It's just 2 minutes of fighting and then another episode and then 2 minutes of fighting.
Is he season 2 or is he after?
Oh, that's later. I've never seen any of those ones.
Mahjong Boo is the most annoying, probably one of the most annoying seasons.
I can't wait.
Oh, yeah.
But so we've been watching that and the kids have been excited. And then they were looking on the Xbox at all the games that were installed.
Mm-hmm.
And they're like, oh, Dad, we have a new Dragon Ball Z game called Fortnite.
Everybody's heard about it.
Yep. So finally happened. Kids got into Fortnite here and they haven't really looked back.
Really?
Yeah, it's been a sensation over here. It's like 2018 all over here. Whatever that was.
I've not wanted to play Fortnite in a very, 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 very long time, and I almost picked it back up knowing that there was Dragon Ball Z stuff in this one. So I get it.
Yeah. I mean, I never played it too much originally. And they've come a long ways.
Yeah.
From the early days, I think. Yeah, there's a lot of stuff in there. It's more than just a, battle royale game, because half the time you're trying to do this quest shit, go here, go there. It's nothing really fancy, but that's pretty much what you're doing while you're playing the game. And then at the end, you're like, oh, we might as well go in the circle and see if we can win this thing,
Really? Okay. Interesting. And how permeated into this season is Dragon Ball? Is it just like a character skin, or their attacks or superpowers, or what's the deal?
So that's the part that I think is really interesting, specifically right now, is it has the skins for one thing, which is kind of just Fortnite thing, but they have capsules from the Capsule Corp that fall out of the sky and land in different areas, basically drops. So you go over there, open them up, and you can get Kamehamehas and a Nimbus Cloud from them.
Oh.
So the Nimbus Cloud is just kind of a game changer. It just teleports you into the sky. You can float around. So it's quickly get out of battle. And then the Kamehameha is just a beam that you shoot at somebody and it does massive damage. The kicker is that you have to jump up into the sky and you have to say Kamehameha like really long.
Into the mic, or the character says this?
The character says it.
Okay, good.
But it takes about 5 seconds, it seems like. So there's just like shots coming off of you, and or you just hear it from away and you're like, oh shit, is that at me? So you're running and jumping and all that shit. So I think it adds a whole other layer than just the guns to that. So I'll be kind of sad if that leaves.
That's pretty sweet, though. I'm gonna have to check that out. I think of like a lot of the partnerships they've done. That one's kind of significant in a huge way, bridging obviously Western and U.S. audiences, or Western and Eastern audiences. Same thing. I don't know what I was talking about there, but like they've done a lot of like, you know, big U.S. movie tie-ins and like wrestling, but this is cultural across the globe. You know what I mean?
Yeah, I think this got a lot. I mean, it got me into it, my whole family into it. So of all the other things, I mean, while we were in there, we got Darth Vader and we got Indiana Jones and we got all that shit too. But
like, you unlocked them or you paid for them?
So we're now a dual battle pass family.
Oh, so. Okay.
Yeah. So we're rolling pretty deep over here with some skins from the season. Yeah, it's nuts. My 2 oldest are really into it. My wife plays it all the time.
Wow. Well, good thing they're about to roll out that like family Game Pass thing. So
yeah,
might help you guys. Excuse me. Well, interestingly, the reason for this crossover is also the reason that I went to theaters this last weekend with my son. And that's because Dragon Ball Superhero was released exclusively to theaters. Came over here with a subtitled and dubbed version. There's just a subtitled version and there's just a dubbed version. Obviously, I just went for dubbed. Didn't want to read a bunch, but we went and saw that movie. Capsule Corp is definitely the devil. Always support the Red Ribbon Army. They're never wrong. If you were to learn anything from this movie, but yeah, really cool and kind of surreal to see a Dragon Ball Z movie or Dragon Ball movie in theaters. Cause like, you know, we caught that stuff like, at least me, like late teens. Like that's when that stuff started kind of like permeating and like into college, and I got into it. So like to have it be enough of a cultural influence that it's in theaters in the US is kind of crazy. I will say I went on a Saturday and I think there was maybe a total of 10 people in this whole theater, including us. So I don't think it's going to be like, this probably won't happen again. Just guessing. But animation was really, really good. The humor was funny. But at the end of the day, like it's hard to justify because it was an hour and 40 minutes, right? But it's just the same thing you're going to get boiled down in a 20-minute episode of Dragon Ball Z, where it's a lot of fluff, a lot of identifying who the next challenger is, a fight, not any real resolution, and then it's done, right? So I don't know. I enjoyed it. My son I'd never really exposed him to like Dragon Ball Z at all, but he said he had a good time. And like the final battle, like the last 20 minutes was pretty good. Like the computer animation all around was great. It was worth checking out. I think like the funniest thing is like I hadn't kept up with Dragon Ball Z, and like they call him the dragon at one point because, you know, they need to like upgrade powers to like take on the next guy. And apparently the dragon's been upgraded to do like 3 wishes, right? So they get through the first wish and he's like, I don't need any more. Well, can I have the next 2? And it's, is it Boma? I don't know if it's Boma. I think it's Boma. She's like, well, can I have your other 2 wishes? He's like, I guess. And she's like, well, I want a perky ass, not like crazy, just like college age ass. And then and she's like, I want like my eyelashes like 0.5 millimeter wider. And he's like, are you kidding me? You've been using the dragon, like the existential wisdom of the almighty dragon for your cosmetic surgery. So it's like this ongoing joke. It's really stupid, but made me laugh pretty good.
That's pretty good.
It was good. I would consider myself at best like a casual Dragon Ball Z fan. Like I like it. I just I've never ingested it all, but if it's on, I'll watch it. And yeah, this movie hit. Like it's not going to convert anyone who wasn't a fan, but it was really a cool, like I said, experience to see that in a theater. Let my kid kind of like take it all in, and the animation that like the pseudo 3D and just normal 2D animation was really on point. Typical Dragon Ball Z though, like they touched on characters who were like not in the film, but like doing other things where they like reference for like 5 seconds a side character who has nothing to do with the rest of this film. And
that's like, what I was going to ask about. Like if your son is just like, what is going on?
Right.
Here?
Yeah. And that was pretty much it. But all you needed to know was, they recruited the Red Ribbon Army recruited like the grandson of the guy who made like Cell, and he loves superheroes. So he made like some 1950s like golden era comic like androids, and that was kind of the whole thing.
Yeah.
And they fought the androids, and as a deal, part of that was like he had to create a new Cell, and so obviously the androids are the big baddies. But there's always the big baddie, which was the new Cell, and it was very on brand, and I enjoyed it. It just like, I mean, it's not gonna floor you, right? Like if you're a fan, but it was still cool.
Yep. So that in Fortnite, they have all these other sections, and one of them is that you go to like a cruise ship and they just show episodes of Dragon Ball Super.
Really?
Yeah. So you just sit there and watch, with a bunch of people. And my kids just thought that was the greatest thing ever, except that they were just like, wait, what's going on? Wait, Gohan's big? Wait, this is this? Wait, what?
He's got glasses? Why?
Yeah.
Yeah, I was kind of at that point too, because like so much time had passed since I'd watched, but yeah, it's interesting. Yeah. I don't know. Like I stand by that thing being like a great introduction to anime, but like it's a little rough, right? Like it's just like a WWF soap opera.
Yeah. It definitely, by this third season, I'm just kind of checking out on it, because it's just episode after episode where nothing really happens, where one person, oh no, he's punching harder than the other guy this time. And,
well, then those build-ups too in the original series, like what's going to happen? Blah, 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 blah. And it's just like, man, it's like half the episode you've just spent doing that. Yeah. It's funny. Well, I might have to check out Fortnite yet before it's too late.
Oh yeah. So. I mean, it's pretty good. You can land
like
at the Kami house. Season? Yeah. I'm not sure how long. I think the middle of September or something, but yeah, my kids, first thing they did, they landed at the Kami house, and Bulma's out there, and they tried shooting her, and then Bulma killed them. So
as she should. Well, I picked up something today. Release day for one of the greatest Konami releases in maybe the last 10 years. And that would be the Konami's Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtle Cowabunga collection. Got that thing.
Have you played it much yet?
Yeah, I mean, just having gotten it today, not a lot, hours. So just kind of went through it. I will say it's very respectfully done. Like, so you've got all the NES games, all the Super Nintendo and Genesis games, the arcade counterparts, and then the Game Boy games. So yes, that does mean you have 3 iterations of Turtles Fighters. You also have 2 iterations of Turtles in Time, 2 iterations of Turtles Arcade, but very, very lovingly crafted as a package. It seems like for the source material, you can change between regions to get the different variants in the games themselves and the cover art. Save is included, obviously, like the standard stuff. There's also enhancements. So for certain games, you can like turn off flickering, you can turn off slowdown. Pretty cool. And then there's like a whole It's broken out really nicely, and like here's the games. Then if you want to play local co-op or multiplayer, there's a section for that. Separate section for online. It tells you, how many people can play in each game. And then I think the cool part is like the turtle layer, where it's just, the turtle layer, and you can go through and look at original box art for all the games, English and Japanese, the comics, screenshots from each season of the original animated series, promo materials, things like that. The only thing I really didn't like was they stopped, the most recent game was obviously Super Nintendo Genesis, but they felt the need to, like, in addition to the original run of the series, because it's Nickelodeon now owns them, here's screenshots from like the new bastardized like 3D Nickelodeon TMNT, which doesn't relate. Like if you were going to do that, include some of the games, but they didn't, right? And then like even the newest like Rise of the TMNT, they had stuff in there. So it was like, okay, you did pretty good, but like you shouldn't have shoehorned your new age Turtles bullshit in here, because like this obviously capped at some point.
Yeah.
Aside from that though, yeah, really good. Everything that I've played on emulation emulates very accurately. Slow down the flicker, even on the NES, like the right side of the screen. Really cool package. It's one of those things where it's like at the end of the day, I own the majority of these in their original incarnations, or like another convenient way to play, but it's nice to have the option to sit down and play on your couch, 4-player TMNT, the arcade, and then Turtles in Time. I think that's a really neat thing. And then to be able to play it online too.
Yeah, that's really cool.
Yeah.
And and like just all the other extra stuff too.
Yeah. Yeah. It's neat. I haven't gone online to see how well that functions, but the
Can't
idea that
bad.
you could just have a couple of friends over. Yeah.
Yeah.
I think the only thing that diminishes it a little bit for me is just like how good Shredder's Revenge was, and that had just come out. So it's kind of like, well, yeah.
They kind of took their thunder a little bit, didn't it?
It did. And like that game is coming out physically inside of a month anyway. Yeah. So it's a lot of turtle, a lot of nostalgia in one short period. And those original games aren't any worse for it, but it's hard to argue with how good Shredder's Revenge was, and like the online's there, the 6-player online, and it's just missing from the old stuff.
Yeah, that's true. I mean, you probably just think of Shredder's Revenge as the same thing as Turtles in Time, but I bet if once you go back to it, it's like, oh, it doesn't look quite as sharp, and it doesn't have all the animations that make it look really cool. And
you don't have that sweet overworld map, and power up.
Yeah, there's definitely, I think it shades the old ones just a little bit, but the old ones are still really good. I was thinking they never made a PlayStation 1, 64 Turtles game, right?
GameCube, Xbox, PS2 era got one. I can't remember what it's called.
And that was like based on the movie, right? That TMNT movie, I think.
Possibly, or there might have been a Nickelodeon like reboot before they went 3D, but I can't, because there was like on the GBA, there was a TMNT thing. But yeah, I think you're right. It all kind of spawned around the quote unquote TMNT movie, and I'm abbreviating it, but like there was one just called TMNT, and like Raph goes rogue, and I think you're right. I think that era was kind of that.
So there was a pretty solid demarcation line as far as games, I think, to include in there, because it's definitely after that it was Nickelodeon stuff. They didn't really.
And I want to say there was that one around like the Xbox One, PS4 era that like came out early on that got fairly good reviews. And then there was that bastardized digital download only reboot of the original arcade that like nobody liked. I forget what that was called. Like Reshelled. Yes, Reshelled. Yep. Nobody liked that one. But it's hard to live up to, kind of the perfection that is those those 16-bit, especially in arcade era.
Oh, yeah.
Turtles, Konami, beat 'em ups. I mean, nobody compares to that.
How many of these people are like, oh, right, I like Turtles. I'm going to get into and never played any of those old ones. Probably zero people, but how many of those people that never played any of them start at the first one and be like, what the hell?
Right. Yeah. Well, especially if you fucked up and you're starting at the first NES one.
Yeah, that's what
like,
I mean. Like,
oh,
what would you ever do?
Oh, so bad. Even like the Game Boy ones are so much better, like in context,
Yeah.
I think. But
yeah, was it the third one? I think is like almost, we played it.
Yeah, it was like a
this show. It was like a Metroidvania hunt. Kind of. Yeah.
Yeah. It was crazy. Yeah. It's cool to see though. It's like very well crafted, like to the point where like it kind of mirrored a lot to me the blueprint that like the Mega Man collections laid out. So I went through the credits to see if Frank Cifaldi had like advised or done anything production wise, and no, but clearly, you know, the better collections laid a good blueprint for what this is, and
yeah,
you know, it's really good. I mean, if you're our age, it's just like a no brainer to be able to like pick this up and have them all in one shot and play couch co-op with the kids, and
yep,
it's hard to argue. There's a lot of value there, you know.
Yeah, I'll probably pick it up. It's all of those like old collection games. They end up being like $10 games at some point, you know?
Yeah. Yeah. And I'm with you. I had a $5 reward certificate at Best Buy. So I was like, I'll go grab it.
Oh, yeah.
Then I got the sassy lady at Best Buy, which she's great, but she's like, are you sure you're old enough to play this? I'm like, I'm pretty sure. And then hands me the game back. Do you want help carrying this out? I'm like, I think I got it. Thank you. It's a Switch game, but yeah, she's good shit. That was my exciting pickup. I don't know. I haven't bought a game in so long that, at least physically, that was kind of a big deal, but I don't know.
Yeah, I can't even remember the last one I've bought either. Probably Kirby. I got Kirby.
That's a good. Did you buy? Speaking of that, I didn't have this on the list, but did you buy Kirby's Dream Buffet or whatever, or download it? I think it's $15.
No.
Okay.
I don't even know what that is. What is it? Like a?
Yeah, so we downloaded. It's like a $15 game. I was curious. It's basically Fall Guys with Kirby, but not as fleshed out. It's
all
good.
Right.
You just want to have the fattest Kirby by the end of the run, and then you win. Pretty shallow, but for the $15 price point, I think it's hard to argue with.
Yeah.
I played a couple rounds. My son's been playing more of it. I don't think it's like really resonated with anybody. I mean, it's a good casual pick up and play game, but
it's not like all those other ones where they're adding new things in all the time too.
I guess time will tell, but I can't imagine. I mean, Nintendo clearly put out with a budget price in mind, and it's fine. Would have been cooler to see that as like DLC for, you know, the game we all bought, but whatever.
Yeah, they used to put all those mini games in the actual games.
Yeah,
like the Super Nintendo one was half mini games.
Part of me kind of wonders if like that wasn't the original intent. Like this will be like free DLC, and then there's like, nah, this is good enough. We'll charge. So yeah, I can't not recommend it, but I also can't say go out and buy it. Wait till there's like a sale. It's half price, but
yeah,
it's fine. It's good family fun. It's just frustrating because like it's 4-player online co-op or 4-player online multiplayer, but only 2-player couch co-op. So it's like,
oh yeah,
they fucked up. If it was 4-player couch co-op, I would highly recommend. But
is that just because of split screen real estate?
Yeah, I'm guessing.
Huh?
Or laziness. Who knows? It's tough to tell.
Yeah. Huh.
Yeah. But it's inexpensive at least, which I've heard some people are going to have less money now because they're Sony fans.
Yeah. I mean, what was it a couple weeks ago where Facebook increased the price of their VR helmet.
Yeah.
And everybody freaked out. And just a couple weeks later, here it is, PlayStation. Apparently not in the US, but pretty much everywhere else, the price is going up, which is just a crazy thought that a console that is theoretical. I've never seen one. So
yeah. Well, and let's keep in mind that we're still...
Is it a cryptocurrency? I don't know.
And keeping in mind that we're still in the era of the PlayStation where market penetration hasn't reached the point where they're not taking a loss on those. So it's like they did a price increase just to take a little bit less of a loss. It's kind of unheard of because we're 2 years in. Is that right? 2 years into these consoles?
Damn near. Yeah, I think so.
So this is normally where you'd be getting a redesign potentially, or at least a price drop for the holiday season.
A $50 drop. Yeah.
Yeah. And instead we're seeing like a $50 equivalent increase around Canada, Europe, Asia. It's nuts. And the thing is like the sad thing is it's not going to affect sales at all because you still can't find them. So if you wanted a PS5, you're still buying a PS5.
Yeah. Like if you were in the market for it.
Right.
It's they're raising the price to reflect market rate. I
guess. Yeah. It's bizarre. It's unprecedented. Nobody's done that, you know? In the history of gaming, nobody's been like, we're going to launch a console and then 2 years later, it's going to be more.
Yeah.
Enjoy it.
And I did hear that, like, there's something, they made a new model of some sort because it's like 9 grams lighter or something like that. So there's some other different parts going on in there, which you would think would make it cheaper, but nope, here we are.
Yeah. It's absurd. But like you said, like it's still this mystical beast. I mean, I can go into stores somewhat regularly now. Like I would say every other trip to like a Target or a Best Buy, I see the Series X. And the Series S for sure, without doubt. But the Series X is definitely there. I have yet to walk into a store and see a PS5 on the shelf. Like it has never happened.
No.
And the bad part is like, I don't care. Like, what am I missing out on? Nothing.
There's 5, I think, exclusive games.
I can.
And they were almost all launch games.
Because God of War is still going to be on 4, right?
Yeah.
So they got nothing this year.
Yeah.
Stray is on PC and PS4. That's the big one. Forbidden West is still on PS4 and PC now, or maybe not PC yet.
Well, not quite, but
yeah. Spider-Man is. Yeah,
but they're still not making a PS4. Like, why wouldn't you have that on the shelves at least then, you know?
Yeah, why they didn't continue to manufacture, because they could have kept the price point at the PS4 as it was. Like it was, what, $350 for like the bigger hard drive version, right? Which a bigger hard drive at this point costs them nothing. So they could have kept selling that, making a hand over fist.
Especially if you could get it down to like $200 or something like that.
People would have bought it. Yeah, even at full price. Like,
yeah.
I don't know. It's so bizarre to me for like as invested as I was in PlayStation this last generation, after they completely lost me on 3, I'm farther off of PlayStation as a brand than I've ever been. Like I give zero shits at all on both PS5 or PlayStation at this point.
Yep. Yeah. And the last nail in the coffin was like, oh, I should get it because there might be some games that I want for it. But it's like now, like if I ever wanted to play those games, I could do it on a PC now.
Yeah. If you're going to put it on PC, I'll wait. Yeah. Well, and speaking of that, like I think I put that down. We might as well talk about that Logitech handheld leak. So Logitech was like talking about, you know, a cloud-based handheld sort of Switch or Steam Deck-ish. Got leaked. Images got leaked. It kind of looks like a nice blend. I mean, we don't know specs. We don't know screen resolution. We don't know price. Appearances make it seem like a nice blend between the Nintendo Switch ergonomics and the Steam Deck. And the interface screenshots seemed to show support for Steam, Game Pass, Epic. So if those things are true, and this thing comes in at a reasonable price point, a decent battery, and it can do cloud gaming, like shit, even if you could just do Xbox Game Pass, at a good price point, like this thing looks to be a contender. I mean, when I say contender, I still consider Steam Deck fringe. This would still be fringe. This is almost along with like Nvidia Shield for me. It certainly isn't going to like be the Switch killer. I'm not that stupid.
Right, yeah.
But it might be like that nice like price point and accessibility where the Steam Deck kind of hasn't moved far enough away from PC to be compatible for everybody.
Yeah, and it prices a lot of people out.
Right. Yeah. Yeah, I don't know. It looks intriguing. They said it comes out in like November tentatively.
Wow.
Still no details. But yeah, it looked very, very form factor like the Switch at least.
Sure.
I'm curious.
Yeah, I wonder how many of those people are going to get into that.
Yeah.
Those companies.
Well, and they said and they also said it, like, I don't think it was previously announced, but they announced in this leak, again, this is all leak, so I'm probably talking about things that aren't confirmed, but it mentioned Android. Well, it's like, well, if you're already doing cloud gaming and now you're introducing Android, like that means tons of like great pre-baked emulation, cores are out there. So that, I mean, in addition to like the Google Play Store and like all the things you can do with Android, there's a ton of great emulation that's just ready to go. Very little customization. Bring your own ROM. Easier. I mean, not that would be hard on the Steam Deck. It's not. But super easy because you can just download those apps through Google Play Store, install them, sideload your ROMs through the SD card, which it already takes. Yeah, it's like the dummies version of the Steam Deck. It almost seems like.
Yeah.
So I'm sure it will not be as beefy, and it doesn't probably need to be if it can do cloud gaming well,
Yeah, I mean, that if that's their focus, then you probably don't need much.
Yeah. Huh. And like in my experience between Xbox Cloud and like the cloud games I've tried on Switch, it's certainly with a decent internet connection, it is very easy to imagine a console that can do that well with lower specs and still give you a near AAA experience. So it'll be cool. I mean, it kind of made me feel almost like a little bit redeemed for not getting that Steam Deck ordered. It's like, well, maybe this will be the thing that like kind of meets the middle ground. So
sure,
we'll see. I probably won't buy this either, but it was cool.
Yeah, you got to wait for the Razer one because that that one's going to have like lights flashing everywhere on it.
The more lights you can have baked into anything, the better.
Yep.
That's a fact.
How many LEDs you pushing on that thing?
Have we talked since like, I don't know if we have. I didn't put this down as a topic, but did I tell you about my Starlink incident? I don't know if you saw this on Twitter. The
Ubisoft Starlink game?
Close. So this must have been in between. We were having a fire and a movie in the backyard a couple weeks ago. This would have been not last Saturday, but the one before, right? So it was like right around like the end, like 20th or something of August. And we're having a fire. We watched Napoleon Dynamite. I don't think my kids were ready for that. They didn't laugh at all. And all of a sudden, like the movie ended, I'm packing stuff up. My kid's like, "Hey, what's that?" They're pointing off into the sky. And I look up and then there's lights, orange lights, and they just keep coming in a string, right? And my brain's trying to comprehend this. I was like, what am I looking at? And then I'm thinking like, well, that's just like a single file line of like snow geese or something like you might see in the fall. I was like, clearly the moon's reflecting up off of them and they're getting closer. Pretty soon I'm going to hear the honks, all this. And then they just like dissipate into the atmosphere. They're gone. And I was like, so logically in my head, I'm like, well, it's not a meteor, because they break up. It wouldn't have been unified like that. It's not a comet. Comet would have been a consistent streak, not just a string of like a dozen or more lights. So we get into bed and like, I'm kind of freaking out. I was like, I don't know what I just saw. Like, what do we, I'm talking to my wife about it. I was like, I don't want to say anything about the kids. This doesn't add up, It's like, I kind of didn't sleep good because it's like, what the fuck was that? I get up in the morning and like, when I tweeted it out before I went to bed, I was like, is anybody in the FM area seeing this? I was like, it was 10 minutes ago. Am I crazy? A couple people liked it up or thumbs it up. Cestus was like, what have you been drinking? Accurate response. Whiskey, by the way, but not that much that it wasn't delusional. So I was like, that's fucked. So I get up in the morning and I start Google searching as you do, naturally. And then it turns out similar sightings like in April of this year in Chicago area, other areas of the Midwest. Turns out what it is when Elon Musk launches new Starlink satellites, they go up into orbit and then they slowly spread out low atmosphere in a line. And it just so happened that the night before he had launched 53 of them into space. So we were seeing that, and apparently it was visible for a few days. And like I saw comparison photos and stuff, and like I was like, oh, that's 100% what I saw. But like, holy shit, maybe put that out in the normal like local media. Like I would have slept a hell of a lot better if somebody just said, by the way, if you see these weird lights in the sky. And then it turned out, it scared the shit out of me. And like once I knew, I was like, okay, that makes sense. But then it was funny, like my boss had been out like the week prior leading up to that on vacation. He gets back on Monday. He's like, did anybody else see those Starlink satellites? I was like, dude, I about shit my pants. He's like, yeah, me too, man. He's like, I was getting my kids out there. We're getting the phone. He's like, I was researching it. And so I was glad that like one other human being like
saw it. Yeah.
Backed up my story, but super scary.
That's crazy.
Yeah. They should really publicize it more. Like, here's potential flight plans paths where you're going to see this, like alert people. Yeah. I just thought it was weird that like nobody in like the Fargo area, it didn't make the paper, it didn't make the news, but it was very clear. It's very like unsettling if you can't rationalize it in the moment. And it was pretty cool. So yeah, not a UFO.
Yeah. After you know what it is, for sure. Yeah. Otherwise, if you don't know what it is,
you're like, am I dying tonight? Is there a nuclear attack? Did Russia just blow us up? Am I dead?
Nope. Just fucking Elon Musk.
Yeah. Son of a bitch. I don't even use his internet. Yeah.
Wow.
So that was interesting. Also interesting. Have you seen Nope?
Nope.
So
I haven't even seen his last one.
Get Out? Or no, This Is Us or Us.
Yeah, I didn't see that one. I saw Get Out, but
okay. And I have not seen Get Out, but I've seen Us. And I watched this one. So we watched that. And like essentially at its core, like this is a alien movie, right?
Did you watch this before or after the
after, yes. After the Starlink incident, yes. But not unrelated, yeah. So it basically turns into like ranchers being tormented by an alien spacecraft, which they then determine through the course of this movie is like not an alien spacecraft, but is an alien entity, a living, breathing creature that resembles a UFO.
Oh,
think like a giant sky stingray thing. But anyway, like the way this thing ends and like the kind of like, I don't know if you've seen Peele's, some of his stuff, like the connotations, like the things that are said and like are unsaid in between like characters and in the plot, and like both
a lot of metaphors for other things too.
Yeah, right. Prejudice, and it's an African American cast, which is fine. It makes sense, but then like the whole, well, it won't kill you if you don't look at it, and it's just like all this sort of stuff. And I got done watching the movie. I'm not going to get too into it. It's a very cool concept and a very good alien movie if you're dense enough to realize it's not just that, like, But then
It's
like I
something
got
else.
done with it, right? And like my wife is later that night, and like I'm up later, and I'm thinking about it, and I was like, I'm unpacking it all, right? And I'm like, well, it was an alien movie, but also it's a social commentary on like media bias and like the overextension of like social media, Black Lives Matter, police brutality and all this stuff. So like the next day, like we get up and like I don't know, I was like, I'm like, I think that movie's kind of ruined for me now after watching this. So the next day, like my wife and I go to the grocery shopping like we do Sunday mornings, and like we're driving back. I was like, so what'd you think of that movie? And like, you know, how it wasn't really an alien movie and it was just like a Black Lives Matter and like police brutality sort of thing. And she's like, what are you talking about? It was just about an alien. It's like, I'm fairly certain it wasn't. I'm like, based on the ending, rethinking through some of these scenes, I'm like, I'm pretty sure there was more there. She's like, no, you're crazy. I'm like, okay, Google it. She Googles it. She's like, oh my God. I'm like, I told you. I was like, it was not the movie you thought you watched. So I don't know. Like all of his films are kind of like that, but this one's very like, I think because you're in tune to it because of his previous work. And then just, I mean, the subtlety it's there, but it's more apparent.
Yeah.
In this one. And it's not that I didn't enjoy the film. It's very good. I probably can't watch it again. It's cool. I recommend people watch it, but yeah, I don't know. Like,
That's a bummer because like everything he makes after this, or, you know, everything is always going to be through that lens then.
Yeah. Well, that's the thing is like, you're going in kind of expecting it, right?
It's like watching an M. Night movie and you're like, where's the twist going to happen?
Yeah. Yeah, he ruined himself, didn't he? Yeah. Yeah, so I don't know. It was maybe the most cohesive one he's done. Like if you boil out the metaphors, like start to finish, story it was telling, the oddity of it, it was a little bit M. Night. It's the most like straightforward plot to horror. Like it makes the most sense, I will say. Like I didn't have to think hard on, unlike his other movies, I didn't have to think hard on what I watched as far as like the core story.
Sure.
You know, I feel like especially like some of his other stuff, like you were like, after you get done with it, you're like, well, none of that made sense now. Like this made sense, but then you're also like, well, what else was it saying? So it was kind of like this weird reversal, but yeah, I don't know.
Now you got to go back and watch all the Key and Peele and be like, what does he really mean in this skit?
Yeah, what does noise mean? What am I missing in noise? Yeah, I don't know. It was cool. I recommend it, but like also there's a lot to unpack.
Yeah.
Or if you're like my lovely wife, you were fortunate enough to just get through it and enjoy the film. So I don't know. I heard you enjoyed something delicious.
Oh, what a thrill. So, yeah, I took the kids mini golfing today and then had to go somewhere for lunch and thought, okay, Detroit Lakes has a A&W on the other side of town. Had no idea.
In the gas station with the hot stuff pizza.
Yeah. So we went over there. Oh, it's a gas station. Whatever. It'll be fine. Go in there. Want the root beers.
Yep.
They hand you a cup.
Oh, you go to the fountain machine?
You go to the fountain machine.
No.
And there's A&W and it says made fresh in store on the fountain machine. And I'm like, how the fuck are you? You are bullshitting me. There's no way this is the same. And it didn't taste like, you know,
of course
like
not.
you would. No, it's like the whole reason I came all the way across town to get actual A&W root beer. And now here's a fountain machine that we have.
Yep.
And got the kids some kids meals, which were just like, the corn dog nugget things, just garbage food, really.
Right.
I mean, it's probably the hot stuff, but kitchen over there probably is better stuff for you. But got them that, and their toy inside
was
a bumper sticker from
No.
2014 that was just an advertisement for A&W.
Oh my gosh, it's so sad. So did
And
you have them,
they're,
like plastered on their foreheads, or what did you do?
I said you got to think real hard where you want to put that.
Oh.
Even the Happy Meal bags that they got were like printed all messed up. So like the outlines for everything were like half an inch off of the coloring.
Oh, no.
So the one side is like spot the difference, and it's like they're all fucked up. Like this is all, you can't do it.
Oh no. Yeah, I will say that is like probably one of the saddest A&Ws around. And it's weird because there's that one in Lake Park in the gas station, which also being in a gas station with the hot stuff, that one's remarkably good.
Is it? Okay.
Yeah, but that A&W in DL is, I don't know that I've ever ordered. I think I've ordered a burger out of it once, but I usually just opt for like the hot stuff pizza because it's just like such a crappy gas station.
Yeah.
It's so disappointing too because like we grew up in the era where like A&W was fucking awesome. You know,
Oh,
like,
yeah.
they've just killed off all the standalone A&W stores, and now it's like in our area at least, it's like all it is these bastardized like gas station versions.
Yep.
Sucks.
Like if you don't have just the A&W root beer there, like fresh.
Yes, on the tab,
What are
on
we
the
doing?
counter.
What are we doing here?
Yeah, that's the whole point. I want my A&W frosty mug of root beer with a side of cheeseburger and fries. Like, if you can't do that for me, like, you're fucked. It should be the big glass mug.
Yep.
It should have some
Frosted,
girth to
yep.
it.
Yep.
Yeah. It's bad. I'm sure around the Midwest there's still some like, actually Park Rapids has a beautiful standalone old A&W with like drive-in spots, but
Yeah, I was gonna say they still have the one where you can go outside. Yeah.
and I think in South Dakota there might be one or two, but like around the rest of our area, they just did not survive. We had that one down the street from me here in town that was great, but it was like that weird pairing, like when they partnered up with like Long John Silver's, which I'm pretty sure doesn't exist anywhere anymore, or
Not
if it does, I
around
haven't
here,
seen
yeah.
one. Yeah, so it was like A&W and Long John Silver's, and it's like, well, I don't want your shitty cod fillet, but I'll take an A&W burger,
Yeah.
please.
I don't want fish next to my root beer.
Yeah, which I'm sure some genius was like, it's a very, Catholic oriented area of the country. So, 2 months out of the year, that's really going to pay off. If you
Yep.
want to bring your, non-Catholic friends to have a burger, well, you have your meal in Lent. This is going to be great. So, yeah, I don't know. I stand like it's, yeah. I understand your disappointment though. Like that's crushing because A&W was such like a high when we were kids. It was so
Yeah,
good.
my kids were not impressed. I don't think
No,
so.
that's understandable. I think my kids would probably be the same way. I don't think I've ever seen a proper A&W. Like if you're not getting like that chilled ass glass mug of root beer.
Yeah.
Plus it felt so badass as a kid because you're like, oh, this is like a real beer. I'm drinking like dad,
Yep.
which also probably is another reason they're not around. But yeah, it's a disappointment. And the root beer float. Damn it.
Yeah, I wonder what if I'm guessing they probably have a thing back there for it too, but I'm sure they're still using fountain drink on the backside too.
Oh yeah, I'm sure. Yeah. It's just probably like a different like bagged syrup blend or something,
Yeah.
I don't know. It's all garbage.
Made
food at
fresh
this
because we
point.
put this bag in this morning.
Right. It's micro bag, so it's fresh every day. Yeah. Yeah, that's crazy. That's a bummer. The only other thing I had to talk on was another, I guess this kind of relates because it's another franchise that has lost its muster, but I downloaded and installed that Ghost Recon Wildlands on Game Pass, which I don't know if you were around for like the early days of Ghost Recon on PC, and then I guess it transitioned pretty favorably over to consoles for a number of years, even into the 360.
Mm-hmm.
Those are really good, like tactical shoot 'em ups, very little margin of error. Like you needed to orchestrate things within a, I would say, relatively tight margin. So to play this game is kind of like bonkers because they keep a lot of that tactical stuff in there, but at the end of the day, almost none of it matters because they basically just threw all that into like GTA, like a budget, not great GTA, and just let you like kind of go ham. I mean, you can still fuck up and have to restart a mission if you kill somebody you were supposed to interrogate, but for the most part, it's just kind of like a free for all.
Really?
And it's kind of almost great for it. Like there's tons of like cool stuff like GTA nods, like weird bonkers radio stations in the cars, like just random absurd humor. But at the end of the day, it's like you have all those bits to carry you up to a story mission where you're like quietly plotting out like these silent like executions of like 20 people. So it's really weird to be like
you have to be a psychopath to live that type of life, right?
Right. It's like I just baha'd a Jeep with 6 people off like a mountain cliff to get down here, but I have to like tactically take all these guys out. I don't know. And none of it controls exceptionally well, which makes it all the worse. But it's kind of like this, I think it almost strikes a Saints Row kind of vibe where like it finds its right kind of stupid and jank. So
Sure.
that, like, I would never pay $60 for this, but on Game Pass, this is totally worth a few hours of my time.
Yeah.
And especially with a few other people, I think it'd be really funny.
Yeah. I got it downloaded, and you said you have to go through
there's
a couple hours.
Yeah, there's a tutorial mission. I want to say you'll get through the tutorial in maybe like, depending on what you watch at the cutscenes, 30 to 40 minutes, and then it notifies you right away, like, hey, now you can play online. But yeah, if you get through that, it'd be fun to jump into a
definitely
game.
We'll do that.
It's pretty cool. I like the whole talent tree thing too that they incorporated, and it's very stupid, but it's perfect for Game Pass, to be honest.
Oh yeah, that's great. Is it kind of like a Far Cry type open world? You just kind of go wherever. Yep. Yeah,
that's probably a better cross up between Far Cry and Ghost Recon. Like that's kind of where it lands.
Sure.
With a little bit of like GTA, like gratuity and stuff. So
yep.
Yeah, it's pretty cool.
I've been looking for my next, it's been a while since I've done one of those, mark things off the map type style.
Well, yeah. And like the great thing about this one is like, there's just so much on the map, like the density of things to tackle. And then like the weird, like side missions you run into on the road, like you're a couple minutes from like your next stupid encounter, and it's pretty great.
Huh.
And they get you right into the fun stuff. Like you're driving right away, you're stealing helicopters, you're riding motorbike, like all the dumb shit you want to do in a game like that. It's right there.
Oh, perfect.
They're smart on that. Very smart. I think
sounds like a good time.
Yeah, I think so. I think Game Pass needs a couple more heavy hitters like that. Like it's been a little lacking on like maybe not AAA, but like, up there, sort of like big multiplayer games.
It's kind of weird that like the summer, it just always felt like they were like announcing like, oh, all this big shit's coming to Game Pass, and this summer didn't really do that.
Yeah. Yeah. It was kind of like lackluster. And then like with the stuff leaving this month, including Hades, like it's losing some big stuff. But I guess like, at the end of the day, like it's been a drought of games across all consoles and developers. So I guess it sort of makes sense, but we'll see. They just need to patch in Halo Infinite multiplayer co-op now. So
how can that not be out?
You got me.
If it's been this long, then it doesn't work.
Yeah.
They can't figure that out, then it's just like it's a problem that they can't solve, it seems like.
I'm still like flabbergasted that they launched that's been a staple day one of Halo, and to launch the entire game without that and be this far, like, yeah, we are coming up on a year. Like that makes no sense. And it kind of explains why Halo was a flash in the pan, right? Like, I feel like that and Horizon Forbidden West were kind of the same. Like hype. Nobody talks about them because, like, you know, they landed successfully, but they didn't come up with everything they should have, you know. So,
which is, it's bonkers that they can make huge budget games like that and it just dies immediately. And then, you know, somebody like me can be like, ooh, Dragon Ball and Fortnite, yes, please. Yeah, just because they signed a licensing deal.
The gaming landscape has changed. Maybe Goku will make it into, you know, Halo Infinite. We'll see. We'll get Piccolo.
Well,
we'll be fine.
Halo, Master Chief's in Fortnite already. I never have to go to Halo.
Is he really?
Yep. Yeah.
I didn't know that.
Oh, yeah. From what I understand, he's in there and Kratos is in the PlayStation one, but they can never meet. So,
well, yeah, you can't answer the question who would win.
All right.
God or John. Interesting. I had no idea. Well, did we get through our topics? I'm trying to think. Oh no, Assassin's Creed. What's up with that?
Oh yeah, I can talk about another open world Ubisoft game here. So the rumor is, and this could be all changed by the time this podcast comes out, but the rumor is the next one is going all the way back to basics. Basically, kind of like the first
coming
one.
Back?
Well, just like none of the RPG stuff, none of the huge world, none of, you know, it's just kind of like what the first game is, which is kind of weird because I feel like second game is really the jumping off point.
Sure.
Pun intended, I guess. But it's weird because that's the rumor and it's like in Baghdad.
Okay.
Smaller project. And then after this, they're going to use that experience to remake the first one.
Because we need that?
Yeah, that's the part. Like, you kind of retconned all of that into bullshit anyway. So why would you ever return to it? I don't know.
Yeah, it was all a figment of one person's imagination, right? Like that was the whole.
I couldn't tell you at this point.
So they would rather choose to do this than like go back and say like revitalize Prince of Persia, which left off on a high note, I would argue, after some bad middle games, but like, why not try that?
Yeah.
I think people are kind of sick of hearing Assassin's Creed.
Yeah. Well, and that's got to be part of it too, because these last few ones are just like 100 hours long. And it's like, I don't even want to play it. I played that Egypt one. I loved it. It's a great game. Way too long, way too much stuff to do in it. And then the next one came out and it's like, it's bigger and it has more stuff and you can beat more people. And I'm just like, nope. So I guess, you know, a smaller scale one might be the right choice, but it's just weird that they're just like, we're going right back to everything before too.
Yeah, that is weird. Well, I mean, I did hear rumors that like whatever they were going to do was going to be like, this is the new platform, but
yeah,
clearly that doesn't mean what I was thinking it meant. It's interesting. So it's almost like we've got a new source engine and that will be our future to build on.
Maybe. Yeah. I was with you. I thought it was more like here's some mini, you know, experiences that you get on this, like a subscription or a live game or something like that. But we'll see.
Interesting.
By the time this comes out, I'm sure it'll all be out, all the news and everything about it. But
it'll be a mobile game. Pay to win.
Yeah. Well, I think PlayStation just bought some studio that's really into mobile stuff, right?
Yeah, which I think people kind of forget or gloss over, but the time around the PSP, there was like that Sony Ericsson line, and like they basically made like the PSP Go of phones that actually played really good phone games for the time.
Yeah,
so it's not like Sony
made mobile games too.
Yeah, so Sony has a positive track record. They've never had a financially successful track record. Outside of maybe, I suppose the PSP made the money. The Vita did not. Their phone line definitely did not.
Yeah.
So cool, I guess. But is it just me, or is mobile gaming less relevant than it was maybe even 3 years ago? Or am I just not the person for it?
Maybe we're just out of it.
Okay.
I don't know.
Could be. Yeah.
I don't know. Every single mobile game I've played in the last 5 years has just been either like everything has 5 stars and you got to be like, oh, you have a 1-star thing and you can combine it into a 2-star thing and all that bullshit.
Right.
And it's just all that gotcha stuff. Or it's like, hey, watch an ad and you can get this thing free or this thing free. And it's just, right. I don't know. There's no just decent, when you bought Angry Birds, you had it.
Right.
You just played the game.
Yeah. Everything's got like a money trail to it, right?
Yeah.
And honestly, like for myself, outside of like Nintendo's mobile offerings, which they've pulled out of now, I haven't really played any mobile games. So
they're just shutting one down now, aren't they? Pretty soon. I
think so. Yeah. I know they were like gunning down with them all. Dr. Mario, I think, might have been going offline.
Mm-hmm.
So yeah, it's weird.
Yeah, I don't know. Weird. Mobile stuff is just, I think it's just people that they have it on their phone, but they aren't really talking about, it's not a thing that you talk about to a lot of other people anymore because it's not exciting. It's nothing worth talking about.
You're addicted to it, so you're ashamed.
Yep.
Yeah. Well, I suppose something worth talking about and something we might as well touch on for our listeners. A little bit of housekeeping. So if you've been listening to us, especially the last couple episodes, maybe throughout the last year or so, you've noticed like our lineup, our format, ebbs and flows. So I just want to take a moment. I'm not going to like context this in a weird way. This is not like a falling out. This is not a hurt feelings. This is not people infighting. There's none of that. But I will say to our listeners, we've predominantly, I guess this Weekend Rental has been a 3-man podcast, for the last 5 years. In some discussions, we're officially going to be a 2-man podcast going forward. That will be myself, of course, and Andy. Biff just no longer has the time. It's unfortunate. I wish we could have had him on to like kind of do a final send off, and maybe, never say never. Maybe he'll come back. Maybe that will happen in the future. But that's kind of where we're at. Anything you wanted to add to that, Andy?
Yeah, I mean, life gets in the way of everything. Everybody does, right? At some point, and just hits us at different times, and just hit Biff at this specific time at this point. And, we were talking about this kind of a way to, refresh the show kind of at the same time where, maybe the next episode we're going to have, a little bit different structure that fits a two-person podcast a little bit more.
Yeah. Yeah. So that's the plan right now. We're not going anywhere. We apologize if that bums out any listeners. But yeah, like Andy said, we're going to try and adjust the show. We felt it needed a refresh anyway. Now knowing that it will be a 2-man show, we're going to try and make it so that we're not just struggling to find things to bounce back and forth off each other. We're going to try and get back into segments, return to some of the, maybe not buy, rent, burn, but a version of that. Some things that maybe tie into our namesake a little more. Weekend Rental, the video store, things we still enjoy. And we hope you guys want to hang in there for the ride. We're working on that. We're coming up with ideas. We're trying to finalize the format. We'll do some fun new stuff, new intros, things like that. And our goal is, this is episode 133. I think we're going to try and implement our first new iteration of the refresh by 135. It will be a work in progress, but we're going to try and and make it fun for you guys and fun for ourselves, but still keep the core of the show going, right? I mean, this show, we've gone through different hosts. Biff has been the longest running third member, but Weekend Rental is not any one person. And we appreciate all of you listening. And then we're going to try to keep the show going on as best we can for you and try to make it fun for us again now too. So,
yep. And we're going to remove all the jokes and laughing. We're going to try and make it serious because we're trying to get this on like public radio.
Yeah, 100%. We will be accepting corporate sponsors. If Manscaped would like to come back, maybe Athletic Greens, any of you guys, just reach out to us. We're selling out at this point. We've had enough of the casual, fun, friendly banter. We just want to make money and be corporate shills from here on out. I think that's probably right.
Happens to us all.
But for real, for anyone listening, we know that might have come as a surprise. It's fresh to us. But again, it's not we're all still friends at the end of the day. Again, like Andy said, it's just a time thing. Everybody goes through different stuff. I mean, God knows we've had a hell of a time keeping this thing afloat even over the last couple of years in certain instances. But I think, Andy, you'd agree that at this point we're ready to like tighten it up, try to make it a little more serious and take it in a fun, positive direction.
Yeah. Yep.
Yes. And with that, you can positively take us out because I think this is an episode.
Yeah. So you can contact us by email at weekendpodcast or weekendrentalpodcast@gmail.com. And we're on Facebook, Twitter. If you'd like to make comments over there. But until next time, be kind, rewind.
Bananas.
I promise the new format will still have me flubbing the outro. So
we can record that. Just have it inserted. It'll be part of the overall.